When it comes to real-time processing, Nuendo offers the ability to use a wide assortment of third-party effects as real-time plugins within your mixing environment. This also includes the ability to use virtual instrument plugins to have instant and direct access to quality synthesizer and sampled sounds right from within your projects. This is something we'll cover in more detail in the virtual instruments topic, but for now, we'll take a few moments to focus on the plugin formats supported by Nuendo and some of the key things to keep in mind when making use of plugins. Nuendo supports two types of plugins. There are effect plugins, which are used to process audio or instruments with effects, such as compression, EQ, reverbs, delay, distortion, and just about any other type of audio processing that you can think of. The second type is virtual instrument plugins. These are plugins that work just like a real electronic musical instrument, such as a synthesizer, a sampler, or drum machine. They are played and sequenced via a MIDI track, just as you would a real external hardware instrument. And they generate their audio signals directly into the VST channel mixer for you to mix and process along with other audio tracks or other instruments. Nuendo supports plugins in two formats. First is the native VST plugin format. This is the main plugin format supported by Nuendo on both PC and Mac versions and offers a host of unique features found only in this format. Second is the DirectX plugin format. This is a format originally developed by Microsoft and is available only for the PC version of Nuendo. Both formats are real-time formats. This means that they affect the audio instantaneously, so you hear the results as soon as you turn on the plugin. Much the same way you would when you turn on a real effects processor. While using plugins, it's important for you to keep an eye on the VST performance meter, which is found in the Devices menu, or from within the transport. This will help you manage how much CPU processing power you have to work with when using real-time effects and instruments. Plugins become available simply by installing them onto your system. Once they are installed, effects plugins are accessed from the insert or send slots on the VST channel mixer. Instrument plugins are accessed from the VST instrument rack. Plugins all share a common interface for editing and controlling them. You have two components that make up a plugin. First is the plugin shell. This is the frame or container that Nuendo creates to hold the plugin. In this shell, you have basic functions such as a power on-off button, bypass, read-write automation modes, and a preset list to access, create, and save presets for your plugins. The second component is the plugin editor. Here is where you can see the actual plugin interface and all the options and parameters that it provides for you. You can have as many plugin windows open as you like, making it easy to make comparisons between effects and other tasks that require you to keep a visual on more than one plugin at a time. If you want a plugin window to always remain visible no matter what other windows you click on, you can right-click or control-click on the blank plugin frame and enable the option to always stay on top. As your list of plugins continue to grow, you can organize and categorize them as you see fit. By creating folders in your main VST plugin folder, you can organize your plugin menu the way you like. When you create a folder, it will appear as a submenu option in your plugins list. To help further manage your plugins or make any necessary changes, you have a plugin information tool that gives you an overview of all the supported plugins that are currently installed and recognized by Nuendo. Useful information is provided to you, such as the number of supported outputs, the category or type of plugin it is, the amount of delay compensation needed to correct latency introduced by the plugin, and even the ability to enable or disable delay compensation. You also have path information showing you where the plugin is located in case you need to remove the plugin if it's causing any troubles. Aside from these main plugin conventions, VST and DirectX plugins both offer the same basic functionality, but they also have some very important differences that we will discuss now. First, Sample accurate sync is one of the most important aspects of VST plugin support. What this means is no matter what type of effect or instrument you use, it will always be in sync with your project tempo with the utmost accuracy. For example, this drum machine plugin has its own built-in clock and sequencer. By hitting play on the Nuendo transport, it sends a sync signal to the drum machine to start playing and stay in sync. Well, this signal is sample accurate, meaning that it looks at the actual sample information of the audio engine in Nuendo and ensures that the instrument stays in sync with this data. This provides you with the most absolute rock-solid timing possible. Next, we have automation and MIDI control support, which allows you to take full control over any parameter or aspect of a plugin. Using the automation system in Nuendo allows you incredible control to fine-tune your effects at any point within a project. Next is MIDI sync, which allows you to use tempo-based effects and instruments to create groove-based effects and patterns very easily. Multiple output support allows instruments to have more than one stereo output in the VST channel mixer. This enables you to perform full submixing for any single instrument that is multi-timbral or can provide more than one sound at a time. A perfect example of this is a drum sampler or drum machine. Typically, you would want to submix each drum sound individually so you can have complete control over the effects and EQ of each sound. By having multiple outputs, you can send a single sound or group of sounds to any of the available channels in the VST channel mixer. And last, full plugin delay compensation is an amazing feature for VST plugins. This allows Nuendo to automatically calculate and correct any latency or delays caused by certain task-intensive effect plugins. There's no need to shift your audio tracks or mess with cumbersome compensation plugins. Nuendo takes care of it automatically in the background. If you're a seasoned mix engineer, you'll know what an amazing advancement this is for the DAW environment. Now, the DirectX plugin format offers basic functionality for plugins. There's no automation or sample accurate sync support. However, MIDI control support can be provided if the plugin manufacturer provides this functionality within the plugin itself. Now that we have a good understanding of Nuendo's plugin formats, I'd like to share with you a few useful tips for using plugins creatively and effectively. Always remember that plugins require CPU power. This is a simple rule that cannot be avoided. This is why it is important to always consider a system's CPU speed when making a purchasing decision. If you plan to use Nuendo simply for audio playback and mixing through a real analog or digital console with output effects, then CPU speed is not as important. However, if you plan to take advantage of today's computing technology and mix entirely within Nuendo, as well as make use of virtual instruments to create and write music, then CPU speed becomes the single most important factor in your setup. Every plugin you use and every voice of polyphony you push from a virtual instrument will take up CPU power. So always keep this in mind when you're ready to get yourself a new hot rod machine. There are also ways to get around the CPU speed factor. One of them is by using add-on DSP processing cards. These are PCI expansion cards that have processors on them dedicated to powering plugin effects and instruments. They include their own set of plugins that use the card's processing power. These plugins are then installed into the system and will show up in your list of plugins just like all the rest of them. So for you, it's a seamless process. However, it's a big difference for your computer since the plugins are handled by the expansion card and not its own CPU. The Universal Audio UAD1 and the TC Native Power Core are two perfect examples of DSP expansion cards for your Nuendo environment. In my system here, I have two UAD1 cards installed. By going to the insert of an audio channel and clicking on an empty plugin slot, I have my UAD plugins available in the Powered Plugins category. I'll call up a Pultec EQP1A plugin, and notice that the processing power is registering on the UAD CPU meter. My main computer CPU meter stays idle and is not affected by this plugin at all. As you can see, The world of plugins can be an immense one. There are literally thousands and thousands of various VST effects and instrument plugins available to you for use within Nuendo. By supporting these plugins, Nuendo offers you an environment that is as powerful as, if not more powerful, than working within a real hardware environment with a console and outboard effects. You still have the instant gratification of a hardware environment, but with all the editing, recall, and automation advantages only found in a software environment.